Good existence. I'm JD. This is my oratory, and I'm in here doing what every other alchemist in their oratory does. Seek the eternal wisdom. But really, no, today is Halloween, actually. October 31st, 2021. We're in the present. I have so many things that I always want to talk about, that I always want to express in regards to spagyria, alchemy, chemistry, like life and my understanding of it, and just like how I personally perceive the universe and my experience in it, and how that has just changed and why it has over time, right? So this page really is, this pharmacopoeia is my own personal artistic expression. Just to make that clear, I'm just kind of figuring out what I am, what I'm doing, who I am, why I am, and trying to work on myself, really. And, well, but as a Gemini, as a Gemini, I think that has a lot to do with it. As a just vocal person in general, I've always felt the need to express myself linguistically. So in order for me to figure out what I am and who I am and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, I'm going to talk through it forever from here on out, and mainly focus it through this through this channel as my artistic expression. So none of what I say is medical advice. None of what I say is true, as you know. You probably don't know, but none of what I say is true. Nothing of what anybody says is true. Nothing that anybody can write or convey to you through communicative means is true. Truth only gets experienced. That's one part of my knowledge of my, I wouldn't call it a belief, because when you experience something, it no longer becomes belief. You don't have to believe in it. You have experiential evidence. So truth is a tricky concept, a tricky topic that my thinking constantly orbits around, which I think has been expressed in the past through the other videos and articles I've written on this. But as obviously I grow and discover what is going on with me and with you, and we're all trying to figure out what's going on, and as I grow, my truth will change and evolve, and how I express it will change and evolve. So this is really just like a catalog for me to see how I'm growing, and just trying to express myself. I am constantly trying to communicate to people who just are disinterested or not ready to hear, or they just don't want to talk. Like sometimes people just don't want to talk, and like I said, I'm a talker, so I have to be my full, unapologetic, expressive self to somebody, and that is unfortunately to the internet. Well, fortunately and unfortunately to the internet. Oh, goodness gracious. But also, we cannot have flies in here, please. Sorry to Loki, who's constantly in fly form. We cannot have... I lost my train of thought. So, truth is change, and it is imperceptible to the intellect, and it is experiential. So I try not to hold any beliefs. If I do, it's something that I wish to turn into experience. And at a certain point, you experience enough things. Goodness gracious. I've never had a fly in this place. I've never had a fly in here. And now there's one in here in the video. It's going to drive me crazy, but I'll get past this. Please ignore him. I'm doing an essential... My friend, he likes the light, I think is what's happening. think that might be a better setting. I don't know. Anyways, so over here, I'm cohabating a ginkgo biloba essential spagyric extract, meaning a fully evolved alcohol oils, which there's not a lot of oils in ginkgo biloba. Most of its oils I found to be fixed, but regardless, there definitely were some. You can tell visually the difference between dropping water into ethanol or alcohol or a spirit, dropping water into a spirit versus dropping an oil into a spirit, or perhaps something a little bit in between. You can tell the miscibility, or the way they become homogeneous, is slightly different between each other. And so there was definitely, what I'm saying, hopefully there were some more lighter water soluble compounds contained in the ginkgo soul, because there was not a lot of essential oils. But in this process of coming to know self, spagyrics really saved me. Like, it brought a purpose, some like a meaning for me to do, something to do like every single day. Like, to be completely honest with you, I was one of these people who woke up from complete ignorance, right? I didn't believe in any type of God. I didn't believe in any type of spirituality. Saying the words spirituality or God made me uncomfortable. Like, just wasn't my thing. I would hear these people out, but as a kid, I went to church all the time with my, not all the time, but, semi-regularly with my Catholic parents, and I knew that was all malarkey from the start. Well, not exactly malarkey, but that's what was loaded into my mind at the time, up until I got out of high school and joined the military, and then got kicked out of the military. And then one of my good friends was there for me, who woke me up out of my delusion, and I was just ready to listen and hear and absorb at that time. And ever since then, I have been just trying to figure out and describe exactly what's really going on here, what's really going on in our minds, like what the mind map, because it seems to me like when the knowledge, I refer to simply as the knowledge of the ages, like the stuff that remains true no matter what language you put it in, no matter what time frame it is, no matter what context. It's the constant of reality. And people call that God, right? This is not a word I even like using. I didn't like using it then. I still don't like using it now, because it's a 3-letter word meant to describe the totality. It instantly scrambles people's brains, because every single person on earth thinks of a different thing of God, because they've got these preloaded beliefs into their minds, which, God is not a thought. God is the totality of everything. And so the second you start to think about it, and you're pulling the totality apart into pieces, and that's division. That's the opposite of God. That's the wrong direction. So we know, the alchemists know, that God is unity, and the experience of unity is the main, what I have found through my studies and through my learning and research, that the experience of this unity is the source of healing, the source of being, the source of creation. It's the ultimate source of, it is totality. It is connecting with totality. And as the source of, for lack of better words, God, the alchemists were constantly seeking to experience that. Like, take no man's word, nullius and verba, because they knew direct experience of divinity was their only savior. It's the one thing that would allow them all to come to see the world the same way. And that is what they were persecuted for. They weren't I believe some people think that they were persecuted for turning lead into gold, or you know, for just nonsense heretical beliefs. Like, people have very superficial understandings of the church, if you ask me. The exoteric outer shells of religion has really tainted the true meaning of the esoteric origins of it. And we just wonder, like, why did the Crusades really happen? What is going on right now in the misinformation wars? All really comes back to this idea that there's the source of totality and the source of truth, the source of infinite wisdom. Like, truth, the only source of original truth, actually comes from within man, within human, within man and woman. In fact, when you attune to this truth, to this like inner light and sound, then you actually go beyond man and woman. And the alchemists referred to as the androgynous, the androgen, and the achievement of it was symbolized many, many ways in alchemical times. But really, this is, we got to remind ourselves that alchemy comes right out of the Vedas. It's very easy to get lost and confused with all these alchemical metaphors. Let's just bring it straight back to the Vedas and remind ourselves what this is. It's the dissolution of the ego to experience the supreme self, which is selfless. It has no identity. It has no bounds, no limits, no needs. It has nothing. It is nothing. It is everything. It has everything. It is beyond duality. It is beyond creation. And it is the source of really eternal life. And to be able to like have that in your mind and walk around with that and like grok that, because we have these cultural beliefs, we have these predispositions, like we have things that are in our mind that prevent us from consciously accessing this inner sanctum, this inner temple. And this is what alchemy was about. It was creating these medicines that would remove these what they traditionally referred to as archons, or in the Vedas, the tulpas, and as various things in other places, which we can just conceive of as thought forms, or it's so hard to describe, but we can get really, like, we can get a good idea of it, and we can guide one towards the truth through language, like steer the sails in the right direction. All we're really doing is blowing hot air and bending sound when really we need to touch the light. So why were they killing these alchemists? And it's the reason because they discovered a repeatable process that allowed them to commune with a sort of hypersentient intelligence within their own subconscious minds, that or within their own, I don't even want to say subconscious, because it is more of an inner projection, an inner vision. These people were just having visions, which you have to understand. If you're not read and if you're not well learned, and Jesus Christ, I can't believe I just said that, but if you haven't gone through the esoteric texts of the Renaissance, I highly urge you to, because what we're calling the thing that catapulted our society out of these dark ages into the Industrial Revolution, the technological age, which, has its drawbacks and stuff, but one of the greatest things history has seen in this universe so far, what you'll find is that these guys were sitting in their room, meditating, praying, speaking earnestly to their Creator as if He is there with them right now. And then through this being done over and through a spiritual practice over and over and over again, and through the assistance of many things like the Philosopher's Stone, and as time goes back, the golden elixirs, all these tools to communicate with the divine, which have been, spread across many different cultures. Never really unified, though. All different conceptions. Anyways, you'll find that they're meditating alone. They're in bed. They're on the verge of sleep. And they develop an inner vision. An angel will come to them. Reality will be peeled back, and there'll be nothing but letters and numbers running through everything. Right? Anybody that's taken a bite of the diamond tree will tell you that everything is connected. And this reality is so much more complex. It is so much more sophisticated, and is so integrally connected to the consciousness and to the subconsciousness that there shouldn't really be a true separation of reality external and reality internal. And it's our cultural understanding of this connection that, like, in my opinion, drives the evolution of society closer towards the truth. Which is why I'm always saying to people sometimes, sometimes, our culture is on the edge of an interdimensional evolution or a revolution where we're going to become aware of what it really means to contact God within us, or spirit, or whatever, collectively, which really just means that, like, there's a giant mind, which is, like, God is a brain which is constantly computing the next most probable thing to happen given everything that has happened, and it is offering you, well, hold on. And God is a massive mind that has created reality through an intelligent design, okay? And God, thank you for this intelligent design. God, I sometimes lose track of my thinking, which is a bad habit of mine, or something. So, God, and it's the ability to tap in. It's like we're living in, for lack of better words, a simulation. And the universe is just this massive what-if simulator. And the ability to go into this mind, which is like with it your intuition, it's where your intuition is, in complete stillness, like listen to this mind and say, well, what would happen if, I did this? And you trial this probable reality in your mind, and you get a vision and a sense of what would happen if, and then you have a better idea about what to do given your current circumstances. Of course, you cannot contain the entire mind of God. I say that there is a mind out there that is predicting the perfect divine reality. You get tiny little tastes of this. We all get tiny little tastes of this thing over the course of history, over eternity. And our ability to come into complete alignment with it is the cycle of, time itself, which is another topic I'd like to get into. But ultimately, really what we're facing here when I talk about the healing and the work that needs to be done on self, and then importantly, seeing the reflection in the world. Like, it's fantastic. It is an incredibly powerful experience if you can access the divine, say, in a torture, in the midst of torture or something, or if you can do that, say, it doesn't have to be that extreme. If you can get into a perfect state of meditation while you're riding on the back of a motorcycle, per se. If you can do these things, then it is a massive testament to the fact of its power. But if you can't, we can see that in history, and it is a massive testament to its power, but if you can't do that for yourself on a regular basis, then, humanity becomes confused. And civilizations rise and fall, humanity never comes together. And it's because we couldn't figure out what's going on. Why didn't we take the time to look inside of ourselves and discover that what it really is the origin of thought, and try to figure out, when an idea comes into your mind, meditate on where it comes from. Eventually, this whole thing will get peeled back, And the intelligence system itself, like the grand architect, will manifest to you when you're ready. And when that happens, I'm personally always trying to take it to the next level. Let me really see this guy. Okay? That's what they're all asking. You have to believe, you have to know that you're worthy. You have to believe in your own worthiness, believe in your own self. So that way, at the end of the day, you don't cut yourself off from something. You don't sell yourself short, basically, because we have been sold short. To me, a big part of this is like accessing that mind and then turning that knowledge, that infinite wisdom, towards social account, towards our political account, towards our community, and towards increasing the quality of life for everybody on earth. Okay? Getting rid of the borders, getting rid of the separations, the artificial separations between self and creator. And that will dissolve the artificial creations that we've put in our world that, siphon energy into all sorts of malevolent realities. So you can, with a strong stretch of the imagination, you can see why somebody somewhere has the fear of God in them and what that can do in our world, what the power of God can really do in our world when it is acted upon by an individual. You can see why somebody like the church is out here killing people to maintain, or somebody like, well, the church really is still in charge. I don't want to beat around the bush. In God we trust, written on all your dollar bills, all your euros, okay? People seem to be confused about the nature of the world and where culture is headed, but all of our political dogmas, all of our political dramas are rooted in religious dogma. So if you haven't figured out yet that there are false gods and there are real gods, then we need to have a discussion. And that is the discussion that I'm trying to have with myself right now, because I know it's possible. I'm trying to attain it. I'm trying to stop trying, because I know that when you try, it means that you don't have it. But I am on the path of attainment, and this is where it's drawn to, this present. And so I'm grateful for your sharing with us, your thoughts and anything you have to say, because if you're on the path, then you're on the path. And I believe it's really important that, one of the things that can help us wake up really is each one of us sharing our own, maybe not awakening story, but just our own understanding, sharing our own unique perspective, because we all have a unique perspective that nobody else can say except for us. Nobody else can see it except for us. And I think, we're all basically looking at God a little differently. And if we can express that, like, organically, authentically, and without ego, without attachment, without desire, then we'll create a world similarly. I like saying that, and it's just one of these words that, something about it, I need to say it. It's funky. Similarly. I don't even know what I was trying to say. Similarly, as within, so without. That's all I'm really trying to say. I would like to change the world. I would like to change myself. I'm trying to figure out how to speak to God, how to commune with God. I believe I've done it before. I know I've done it before, but now I know that there are many systems out there which have been using and perfecting this knowledge in secrecy throughout history because the main authorities have been killing people regularly for thousands of years who have been doing that on their own, right? If you try to tell a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew that they are gods and that God is inside them and everybody is God, that's means for them to form an antithesis. And, alchemy is a lot like Hegelian philosophy, and Hegelian philosophy states that the history is progressed by the motor of sublation. And sublation is basically the rhythmic process of attaining unity through a cultural lens. Now, Hegel stated that a population or an idea is presented as a thesis through a social construct. An idea is presented, or through a cultural construct, ideas become presented, like corporations, any number of businesses, whatever people are doing, like ideas are brought to the table, and then there's the antithesis. And it's just this fundamental duality of a thesis and an antithesis. One is for, one is against, one is active and one is passive, really are more accurate underlying archetypes, definitions of these energies. But the thesis and the antithesis, the protagonist and the antagonist, are constantly in this movement around each other that is propelling history forward. You get the thesis, the antithesis manifest, and then as these things get closer and closer to one another, as the thesis and the antithesis get closer to one another in the reality, what happens is they become one through the process of sublation. And it is the desire for the thesis and the antithesis, which originally began as opposites, as diametric opposites, become unified. And it is this theory that history and evolution, social evolution, and culture advances through this progression of sublation of the thesis and the antithesis. This is a very similar concept in alchemy, and I kind of forgot why I brought that up, but Hegel was talking, we're just trying to figure out what God is trying to do and dissolve the ego. So the thesis and the antithesis are both proponents of the ego, really. The left brain and the right brain, and the sublation represents the unitive state, the corpus callosum, which unifies the spheres and creates a whole-brained individual. Metaphor is left and right, of course, neurologists, but personality types, factual. Meaning, I hope that makes sense. So yeah, that's all I'm trying to do is get rid of these antitheses, get rid of these theses. I should probably stop speaking, but there's something inside me and I have to get it out. Some sort of strange geometrical form. Yeah. So alchemy ultimately is really about connecting with God on a personal basis. And how that gets done, you can read the literature, but really how that gets done is just listening to your own self. That's what they say. At the end of the day, all these guys that catalyzed our civilization that we know today, our science that we know today, they were all meditating at one with God, and then he revealed the knowledge of the ages, the immortal truth. And then these people became immortalized. They're fantastic creatures. Almost got them. So, yeah, thank you for joining me in my lab. I think I explained earlier I'm doing a little ginkgo biloba essential spagyric over here right now. Ginkgo biloba is the oldest living tree species on Earth. It is, I'm going to produce about like 8 ounces of it, but it's cohabated. Might as well give you a close-up. We just had it, I guess. So yeah, that is ginkgo biloba. I was talking about it earlier. It's not a lot of fixed oils, but definitely produces a lot of salts. And the salt of sulfur was calcined with that as well, so it is a tint of still pretty translucent. I want to give it a color, but it is an etheric solution of highly evolved ginkgo biloba, which you can find, of course, on my website, jdspharmacopoeia.com. Ginkgo biloba, oldest living tree species in existence, cleans the brain. If there was a tree of wisdom on Earth still, this is it. It will improve your memory, improve your cognition. It's excellent for certain diseases, which I won't name. However, it's a very personal herb. It's been there for me.